I don't get any sound, so. Okay. All right. Well, thank you. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to a discussion on the June 24th, 2023 elections hosted by the National Election Watch. It's going to be 2 hours of incisive conversations on the just concluded elections in Sierra Leone. And I'm really excited to be hosting and moderating this very powerful conversation. My name is Samson Itodo, and I am the Executive Director of YAGA Africa. Joining us this evening for this conversation are 5 eminent speakers who will be contributing to the discussion of the day. And so let me introduce our speakers for this evening. First, help me welcome Marcella Sise. Marcella is the chair of the National Elections Watch. I hope Marcella has joined us. Marcella Samba Sise. It's good to see you, Marcella. Good evening.
It's a pleasure, Samson. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, listeners and viewers.
Thanks for joining us. Also joining us this evening is Reverend James Lahai. Reverend James Lahai is the coordinator of the National Election Watch. James, is it possible? Can we see you? Reverend? Okay, well, he'll be joining us shortly. But I also have joining us is Mohammed Khalifa. Mohammed Khalifa is also one of the technical persons at National Election Watch. Khalifa, good evening.
Good evening, Samson, and good evening, listeners and viewers.
Actually, he is the National Election Watch PRVT, the Process Results Vote PRVT coordinator for National Elections Watch. It's great to have you, Khalifa.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Also with us this evening are 2 other individuals who will be providing international perspectives on the PRVT as well as the election. And I'm delighted to introduce one of our experts, Simon Wanjiru, who is joining us this evening from Kenya. It's good to see you, Simon.
Good evening, and it's a pleasure being part of this panel discussion.
I love those art pieces behind your wall.
Thank you.
And last but not the least is another guest, Paul James. Paul James is the elections manager at YAGA Africa. Good evening, Paul. Paul is my colleague at YAGA Africa.
Thank you, Samson, and good evening, listeners. I'm excited to be here, and I look forward to the exciting conversations.
It's like this an evening of art pieces, because I also see frames behind you. So I don't know if Reverend James Lahai is joining us. It'll be nice to know before we begin the conversation. Well, so viewers and listeners, these are our guests, and with the 5 of them, we'll be having a conversation. about the just concluded elections in Sierra Leone. As you know, on the 24th of June, just about less than 2 weeks, Sierra Leoneans went to the polls to cast votes in multi-tier elections. The Electoral Commission, ECSL. Okay, well, we see James and Jonas. Reverend, good evening.
The noise now.
Okay, well, I'll ask if possible, if we could just mute our mics if we're not speaking, so those who are joining us across the world can follow the conversation. Like I was saying before, James walked in, just a few of data. According to the Electoral Commission of Sierra Leone, there are about 3.3 million registered voters who were expected to cast their votes in the election, and only about 2.8 million showed up at the elections. And the ECSL declared results for the presidential elections, as well as the parliamentary elections. But what is particularly interesting is the fact that this election and the outcome has triggered a lot of issues, a lot of controversies. And tonight, we are going to have a conversation with the biggest citizens observer group in Sierra Leone, and that's the National Election Watch, who will be talking us through some of their impressions and some of their findings in these elections. But before I pose the question, really want to congratulate Sierra Leoneans for a peaceful election. Yeah, there were few skirmishes, but we really congratulate Sierra Leoneans. But also congratulate the National Election Watch for the fantastic work that you did during the election. And tonight, you are the focus. So let me begin this conversation. Let me start with you, Marcella, as the chairperson of the National Election Watch and as a very patriotic Sierra Leonean. Just give us a sense, how do you feel about the June 24th elections in your country?
Thank you so very much, Samson Itodo. And I want to convey the regards of National Elections Watch to you for moderating this program. I want to tell Salon people them plenty thank you. You know, the fact that the faith in democracy is so strong in Sierra Leone, despite all the issues, the challenges, citizens still believe in democratic practices. And so I really want to say congratulations to all of us, you know, for the level of and show of interest in democratic participation. And election are one of the standards we measured, Awandi. First and foremost, by 6 o'clock, when we observers them, we don't schedule for text into the data system, the observers, the report say in 88% of the polling station, long line them been there. So there were long queues, you know, at the polling station as at 6 a.m. This been really significant, and right at that moment, it showed high interest in the democratic process. And equally so, by the time we go into the process, we find out, say, one of the things that would be characteristic of the process across the board were delays in the opening of polls. And so part of this was further investigated, and we find out, say, these delays been they happen nationally, that's now one, but specifically the delay in Freetown been concerning. So there were, the data that came into our citizen situation room shows that 41% of polling stations in the Western area did not open on time. So in the 2023 June 24th elections, two critical issues now been come to the fore right before midday. One, that citizen interest high, they want for votes, And 2, polling station them set up, na been problem, and they're not open on time. As we go forward in the day, a 4th issue characterized the process when I be equally a concern. That's now some people them when we get them voter ID card, they're not able to find their name now the register. That's probably I'm saying those who had voter ID cards, their names were not on the voter register and they were not able to vote. But notwithstanding, there were other people who do not have, their voter ID cards, but their names were on the register and they were able to vote. So now, this was the pattern. 3 critical issues of the process we identify. But by and large, by the time when National Elections Watch pulled out in preliminary statement on the 25th of June, we mentioned to the entire world that voting, they take place in the beginning at the polling station and in the end at the polling station. We said to the entire world that voting ends largely peacefully with citizens' resilience amidst operational challenges in many areas. So in some areas, the way operational challenges they been there, people been still enthusiastic, they come forward and say they want for vote. And we really commend the ability of the citizens for really come forward and vote.
Well, Marcella, thank you for that deep analysis where you just shared. So, Khalifa, let me come to you. As we hear Marcella talk, what will be your own impression for this election? Khalifa. Okay, while we wait, try to get Khalifa. I don't know if Simon, if you're there.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Khalifa.
Yes. Okay, good. Thank you. As Marcella already said, Marcella already gave us a grand picture of what happened on election day. So maybe what I want to bring listeners and viewers' attention to is a strategy that we used, which was one of the critical strategies for the 2023 election, which is the PRVT. Now, the PRVT, it means process and result verification for transparency. This now an advanced and proven election monitoring methodology that has been used by non-partisan citizen observer groups, to systematically assess the quality of opening, voting, closing, counting, and tabulation processes at a national scale and independently verify the official results. So, this type of election observation strategy or methodology, nothing where they don't use that so many parts, so many countries in the world. In fact, very recently in Nigeria, in 2023, they use them. They also use them in Kenya in 2022 and also in Cote d'Ivoire in 2020. So this year, National Election Watch really employ a very successful PRVT methodology. And this is not the first time National Election Watch has employed this strategy or this methodology in Sierra Leone. The first time National Election Watch actually employed the PVT, as it used to be known before, it was in 2007, and the second time was 2012, and also in 2018. It would interest citizens or viewers or listeners to note that in 2018, when we actually employed this methodology, it was a huge success. As a matter of fact, it was our employment of the PVT, as it used to be known. That's what actually called tensions down in 2018, when after the first round, both major political parties were clamoring that they have won the elections hands down. It was the data we had, the data that was synthesized and verified, and then you came out with a statement that no one party or no one candidate has reached the constitutional 50% threshold to be pronounced president for the first round. So, New actually had a very successful PRVT methodology in 2018. But coming back to 2023, I just need to express these things to listeners. I want the listeners they know waiting at this PRVT and how we go about for DUA. Now, in 2023, we get a sample of 750 polling stations out of the 11,832 polling stations will be there across the country. Now, what do? We use something we call an interval sampling, which is a form of statistical random sampling for getting 750 polling stations in there. Now, the size of that polling station, the 750 polling stations the way they now sample, it is nationally represented. It's representative across all 5 regions of the country and across all 16 districts of the country in Sierra Leone. Now, to ensure geographical representativeness, our PRVT sample was drawn using stratification. Now, what does that mean? It's a big word, stratification. Now, big word. But what it means is that the sample will get the same percentage where polling stations we get across every district. What does that mean? Bo district, for example, had 1,106 polling stations from ECSL. 1,106 polling stations. Now, those 1,106 polling stations, they represent 9.3% of all polling stations across the country. Now, when we did our sample had 70 polling stations in Bo district. And those 70 polling stations are also representative. They represent 9.3% of the total sample stations. The total 750 samples are 70 polling stations in Bo district represent 9.3%. So what this means is that those percentages, the 9.3 nationally and 9.3 of our sample in Bo district, it means that our sample does not underrepresent Bo and does not overrepresent Bo. So it means that whatever happens in Bo district, National Election Watch, with their 70 sample in Bo district, could actually say authoritatively what happened on election day. We can actually speak on the process and also verify the official results of whatever happens in Bo district. And this is what happened across all districts. When you look at all districts, this is what happens. If I have time, I'll actually tell you about all the distribution, how 750 polling stations were distributed across the country. But just to add to that, our sample distribution, I need listeners to know that our sample was even increased from 2018. In 2018, National Election Watch had 506 samples. So this year, 2023, we decided to increase our sample from 506 to 750, which actually gives you a significant, increase when it comes to like precision. Now, increasing the sample size from 750 to 1,000 or to 1,500 would not have a significant impact on the margin of error and may render rigorous observer recruitment, training, and data verification challenging. But that increase from 506 to 750 is a significant increase. So the quality of our PRVT projection does not depend on the percentage of polling stations covered, on the manner in which the sample is drawn. Polling stations must be drawn at random, and which is what we did. The randomness of our polling station, that actually made the polling stations very representative across the country. So this is why National Election Watch was able to even speak about things that happen in even polling stations that we didn't have observers because of the representativeness of our sample. You know, maybe later on in the program, I will talk about key issues when you talk about samples. Key issues about the PRVT, which is the margin of error, the confidence interval, and our findings. I'll talk about that. I'll dilate on that, you know, as the program moves along. So thank you, Samson.
Khalifa, for that deep insight on the methodology you use for the election. I don't know if Reverend has joined us, but I need to know from the tech team if he's joined us. But in case he hasn't, let me bring in Simon. Simon, so Khalifa has pivoted into this discussion about the PRVT methodology, and he's talked about you know, the sample size, because the debate has always been, how come out of, you know, 11,000 polling stations, and you only picked 750, and is that representative enough? And I think for the benefit of those who are joining us, I think it would be great to explain this issue about the sample size. And my question to you, as someone who has conducted PVTs for several years, is a news sample size strong enough to put you in a position to actually draw conclusions on the elections?
Thank you so much, Samson, and thank you to Team New for standing up for democracy, for their nation. The PRVT is always conducted by the local teams. They're the people who are in that nation, and they are working for their democracy. So before I come to that, let me digress a bit and start with, why do we feel that this methodology is important in doing during elections? And one of the things that is very important is we may not cover 100% of the polling stations because of a number of factors such as funding. Covering a whole nation would demand a lot of resources in terms of human resources needed, that is the people, the observers, the trainers. And also, we are looking at speed. The Electoral Commission has about 7 days to tabulate results. So if we were to do 100%, then it means we have to take longer to tabulate that information. So for those two main reasons, we opt and to do sampling. Remember, also the EMB, or the Electoral Management Body, is also funded by the government, and observers don't have their own funding. So they have to do small, but look at something that is going to represent the whole country. And also the other, talking also about why we need it, we have to think about elections. Elections is a process where we need confidence, but most of the time we find that we don't have confidence. Some of the things that we look at and what citizens would be looking at is, did the candidate who was announced the one who won? Also, sometimes there's perception, whether true or false, sometimes that the EMB is not truly independent, and also the nature of politics that we have. All the candidates, both, especially the big parties or the big candidates, both sides feel, because it's usually mainly two sides, sometimes there are three, you find that all of them believe they have to win and they are the ones who are winning. So when one loses, then that also brings some lack of confidence. And so to sort that, the PRVT methodology, which as Khalifa has talked about, has been implemented in a number of nations. We had the most recent one done by Yaga in Nigeria. Last year, Kenya did it. And more countries are still using that methodology to help the citizens to be able to talk about the results. So in terms of the sample size for an election such as this one, where we have about 11,000 polling stations, 11,000 plus, does not have to be a very huge number. So most of the, for a perfect condition of a PRVT, we work with a figure of between 500 polling station and 1,500, 1,500. What matters most is how the sample has been drawn. Is it representative of the whole nation? Is it representative of the regions? So that where there are more polling stations, you get more observers. And that way we are able to talk about that. The more observers you have does not mean that the results becomes better in terms of how we are viewing and how we are able to talk about the projections, but just shows about the precision. Khalifa has also mentioned something we call the margin of error. I don't know why they chose the name margin of error, which sounds like is a mistake, which is an error, but this is just a measure of how precise our results will be. Thank you. Back to you, Samson.
From this conversation, it is clear that the issues relating to the sample size and new sample size have been settled. Because statistically, yes, it means the representativeness of news data and its sample can no longer be questioned. And thanks, Khalifa and Simon for sharing that. Again, I don't know if Reverend has joined us, but Khalifa and Marcella, I'm going to be coming to you guys shortly. But let me bring in Paul. And Paul, you've managed PVTs in different parts of Africa. And my question to you will be, just judging from your assessment of news methodology, what do you have to say about the PRVT and the conduct in Sierra Leone? Well, the question was for Paul, but if Paul is not on set, then I can just throw this question to you, Marcella, before I bring in Khalifa. So Marcella, there's been torrents of fake news and misinformation about you, in fact, even attack on your person, and perhaps to use this opportunity, to really condemn, the attack on your person, as well as the attack on members of NEW, and we've seen several solidarity messages, and it's really unfortunate. But let's speak to the issue around the misinformation about and disinformation. Are some of the things being said about NEW, are they true?
Interesting. It brings to light that every elections become challenging, and part and parcel of democratic consolidation shows that every level towards democratic health and consolidation is like a series of graduated challenges. We faced this in 2018, and I must say this issue of attacks is not new to NEW. National Elections Watch has been taken to court. National Elections Watch was attacked for the same PRVT methodology in 2018. National Elections Watch has been attacked for by-elections statements. National Elections Watch has also been attacked, for the 2023 elections. But the 2023 elections, the dimension it took was very surprising because it came from civil society. Civil society who felt that they were not part of the process. One of the things that we need to note is that National Elections Watch is a coalition of 450 registered organizations. We are doing this because we want citizens to participate in their elections and feel confident. So we run a decentralized structure. There are observers at the community level that I don't know. The district coordinator in Kailang, the district coordinator in Kenema, the district coordinator in Bombali, the district coordinator in Falaba know those observers and their community-based organizations. So every form of implementation is done through the decentralized structure. And in fact, before your organization, no individual is a member of NEW. Only organizations are registered, and the organizations give us their members to be part of the coalition. So one of the things we'll get for note is that whenever anybody can't join National Elections, what you say organization want be member, we they send them na the districts where you want operates. And say go to the district coordinator and go through the process. The process means say you take the application form, you go through the screening process for let me know say that organization they at no time participate directly, at no time the leader or key players in the organization not declare for political party, at no time they are heads of organization they're not able to align them with any political interest. And if we get clear insight say you fit for join, the organization fits for join National Elections Watch, then we they give you with code of conduct, you sign them. And that code of conduct today, something you all are familiar with it, is a code of conduct for independent, non-partisan domestic observers. For saying that within this confine here, so you operate. And you get for ensure say, waiting are true, you talk them, fall white, you white. So now within that perspective, they will observe election. So we always they observe by telling exactly what transpire. We always they observe for say, we they train you, you go na the field, you open your eye, you watch, you record what you see and report them as you see them. So basically, in them parameters, then we don't they observe, but many a times people then feel say we for observe in their own interest. But I want to remember a lot of people that the initiative for National Elections Watch is a post-conflict democratic peace-building initiative where people then came together in 2001, facilitated by National Democratic Institute and the Commonwealth Foundation. They come together and bring civil society organizations that were interested in governance at the time. They say part of the thing that we're going to make this democracy in Salon Sidom, what's going to make democracy in Sierra Leone consolidated is for civil society to take the onus and ensure, say, observation is part of the peace building process. We observe as a result of peace. Because one of the things that will bring the conflicts, people then say, then they exclude we from governance, we do things that were not right. So even as we were moving towards peace consolidation, it was imperative that we have an institution like National Elections Watch, independent and non-partisan across the country. We don't know gender, we don't know sect, we don't know religion, we don't know ethnic, we don't know tribe. Right, we all at the hem of things at the strategic management committee level, at the regional committee level, we all one way or the other with singular focus now how for observe transparently and how for build democracy and peace na salon. So in actual fact, the reason for observation and for build peace, The reason for observation and for let citizens get confidence, say, we go cast with ballot, and there is this institution called National Elections Watch, where we get confidence and say, they go watch we vote them fine one, and after watching the votes, they could report to us appropriately what they saw. Now, the essence of National Elections Watch. And I must say, this has been a success since the formation, what we start for observing in 2002. I joined the coalition in 2003. In 2002, we'll begin for observe. National Elections Watch has been the foremost success for post-conflict democracy building in Sierra Leone, independent, non-partisan observation. So for now, for civil society who think that new could be hijacked, new could be captured, and begin say all negative things them but we feel like say this is not the role of civil society. Right? Because the role of civil society now for ask questions, now for all the institutions then to account. And where possible, we complement with government and all the institutions there. We've been complementing with the ECSL, the roles of the ECSL in 2018. In fact, in 2018, some of the criticisms I could still remember, and we've been pulling up, they said, oh, Marcella of National Elections Watch, are you a spokesperson for ECSL now? Because ECSL processes needed to be amplified to educate citizens why they were doing certain things and why they were not doing certain things. So collaborating with ECSL has always been our thing. We have a standing memorandum of understanding with ECSL for the 2023 PVT. We tried getting the electoral commissioner, the leadership team several times, 3 times, went to him at the first time. Unfortunately, we're not be able to see him. The pressure, we were late, so we're not able to see him. We give it time the next morning. We try reaching to him to have a conversation with ENT. This has always been the collaborative effort with National Elections Watch and the Electoral Commission, despite the fact that we still hold them accountable, because we roll as observers in this process now for observe for peace and for hold the EC accountable. Samson, 2 points before I drop the mic on this. Now, so for example, the fact that civil society jump in the media, they say, we want to bring war, we want to bring faith. No, that is not the thing. In fact, from where this issue come up, has anybody raised a finger on anybody? No. In fact, people have been very quiet listening, because that is why we said we promised them that we'll observe the elections and report back. Nobody has raised a finger on anyone. There's been issues prior to the elections, during campaign, fights, and things like that. People have been targeted. Police, in fact, I remember on Monday, I even went to the radio to talk about police action and how negative that can be to the post-elections environment. So nobody has raised a finger on anyone because of this issue. They are waiting for us to have a genuine conversation on it. But unfortunately, civil society just went rogue. Then begin jump there and there. They say negative things about National Elections Watch. And I must say, a number of them people then the way they do that. Now people them where them be don't lead institutions the way don't fail. Now people them where they get their own governance processes. You know, one of the leaders of this campaign against National Elections Watch, he even gets a survey where he pulled and put one candidate 56% prior to the elections. Nobody asked him any question. So he can now organize people then, begin organize civil society, signed in names of civil society. They even signed in the name of Campaign for Good Governance, the organization, my primary organization I lead. I am saying all of this because it's a new dimension to the work of elections observers, to see other players coming to the fore and trying hard to discredit our hard work. And I felt that it's very wrong to the number of observers them across the country who do this, to the 6,000 observers that were failed, to the 750 PRVT observers, to the national coordinating team. I felt sorry because they know they sleep. Some people there for 2 weeks, they hardly had 2 hours sleep to run this process. So for we colleagues them for organize and using hate words and hate messages against we, they say we want to bring conflict. No, the essence of this process is to counter conflict so that people no go feel aggrieved, the act no go one, we go no say the will of the people go stand, whatever they go put in the ballot box, we watch and say na this we see. So at this point, I will say all that thing and the way that they talk about corruption, Marcella don't run away with 1 million, he don't escape audits, $1 million or euros, it's all false. It's not part of our process. We know they run away for nothing. I had every reason to leave Sierra Leone because I left an assignment for go support the team. So basically, as you say something, we want to condemn the attacks on National Elections Watch, and especially from we colleagues them. That is not the characteristic of civil society. It is not our tradition, and this new dimension is really worrying for democratic consolidation and peace building.
Well, Marcella, just stay on because I have to ask you this other question before I move to Paul. Well, if you're joining us, this is a conversation hosted by the National Election Watch on the just concluded multi-tier elections in Sierra Leone. And National Election Watch is the biggest citizens observer group in Sierra Leone that conducted and deployed election observers for this election. In case you're wondering what we're talking about, the National Election Watch has questioned the official results declared by the Electoral Commission of Sierra Leone, pointing out some inconsistencies in the share of the votes, including inconsistencies around turnout figures. And Marcella, my question to you, because new, according to its data, that none of the candidates in the election, will meet the constitutional threshold of 55%. Is that news positioning to it?
Absolutely, this is our position, and that's why. And I mean, we've called for. You see, that's the thing. We've called for a situation where the Electoral Commission could come up with the figures. Let them talk about the figures per polling station so that these issues will be clarified. Because one of the things that were very important now that the will of the people for be sustained. One of the points people normally say, and I think I like that expression, they say, let's go to the ballot box and let the ballot box speak. So for every single vote, there's a message behind it. And so if we see that kind, inconsistency, we ask the Electoral Commission. It's part of accountability. It's an accountability institution. A lot of organizations are doing it around the world. I don't think say for bring problem and for bring tension. It is about how we resolve the issue now matter. So we still stand with what we say.
All right, Marcella, you've talked about, and I saw that in your statement, that the ECSL should release, results of the polling stations, right? And that's the call. Has the ECSL responded to that particular request to publish the polling station results?
No, not to our knowledge at National Elections Watch. So what we have seen is that there's, a lot of hype for cloud this, and people are otherwise saying news should release their data. In fact, when our data we don't get results. The institution we mandated, I think we don't get this conversation before. In 2018, there's this group of people who are tossing us here and there. In 2018, we found a serious criticism for say, we're not getting no rights for talk about election results and data. And we said, okay, if we not get right to talk about election results and data, 2023, when we designed the PRVT protocol, we say no, we mark an X. We say no, we will only speak after ECSL has spoken. So now, if we have been threatened to say nobody should speak about results until after ECSL, when they pull them partial, we say talk. Anything them pull, we say put verification based on the observation. So when the partial results was released, we were on track together. And we were, because the PVT has always been on track with ECSL, 2007, 2012, 2018. In fact, when we first did the PVT for West Africa, Sierra Leone was the first country. Now we first do PVT. I remember the following year in 2008, Ghana was going to the polls. We come out Sierra Leone, we can't Ghana for can't support the training in Ghana. And they welcome that, Sierra Leone has done this. In 2023, when we also ran the methodology in the region and say the PVT was not representative of the level of work we would do. It's process and results transparency. It's a verification of process. And change unto PRVT, Sierra Leone is the first country where bring enough evidence and data can public on the process also. So one thing what they say, if people then believe we will talk say, this number of polling stations not open, and then Greece say yes, then polling station they are not open on time. This number of people go votes, they're not able for votes because the voter card, they get a voter card, but then their names are not on the register. Then believe we. If we say now, when it comes to the result, we see some inconsistency and can we clarify it? It becomes you and cry. I don't think say for be you and cry. I don't say it's very challenging for even the commission, but it is about building trust and confidence in the process. So yes, we engage the ECSL and we think say throughout the election day, the process been peaceful despite the delays. Small ala them in day. Issues came up during the day, but it was largely peaceful. The side who side the controversy begin at the counting. So voting ends at the polling station, but the controversy started with the collation. Who side they aggregate the results? Now then the transparency issue started. And because of that, we need for clarifier. I wonder why make a number of Sierra Leoneans not think say them for ask question around the collation and tabulation. Instead, it's about National Elections Watch for bring in data. So yes, we think say we want for still call on EC in the spirit of progress, in the spirit of unity, because people they lie now say peace is undermined. No peace is undermined. Nobody has lifted a finger. I lead a coalition that I always stand for peace and the truth in that coalition together. We do things to the utmost. In fact, one of the things that we are known for, we are known to do things to the letter. As the head of the coalition, I can vouch that if this PRVT was not right, if are there any doubt in as the head, I would not do this. I will not do this to Sierra Leone. But I believe, say, those who have worked on the PRVT, those who have observed the elections, they have done a good job. We are asking questions because we want to build peace. If person lost election, I want when they go lost, make it go lay down and sleep and say, yes, I lost. But let me not lost with doubt and think, say, somebody not counts me votes fine. So it would be good to lay this matter to rest by bringing the data, we clarify them, and in the final analysis, because every other observer mission noted opacity around the collation process. So I think we need to clarify that.
Well, I'll come back to you, but thank you very much for those comments. And Paul, let me bring you in now. And to the question I asked earlier, having conducted PVTs across the world, and also in Africa. What do you have to say about news PRVT? Paul.
Thank you very much, Samson and the team for this opportunity. But I must first commend the resilience and the industry of the team in Sierra Leone for championing this, and especially for standing for democracy in their country and by extension in Africa. So for me, as an observer from outside, the first thing that came to mind when news started releasing its data was to look at 3 points. And I think some of the speakers have alluded to these points already. One is the distribution of the sample by news. And then I must commend news also for thinking in the direction of increasing the sample size from 560 to 750. What that does for news is to allow them to be more precise in their estimates by the time they release the final estimate. So I must commend news for that. And then looking at that, you look at the representativeness across all the districts and you compare that against what you have as the data for the national polling stations in the country, you see how representative this is. The second point is the randomness of this, that beyond that, what news also tried to do, not be just to the pick polling station from anyhow, anywhere, now to go where this polling station is, because they follow within the PVT methodology expect say to do 2 things, to do stratification and to do randomization. So the distribution where they first do is to ensure that every region, every district is represented in the sample. And then from there, they started drawing it. They did not just cherry pick polling units. No, anywhere that the sample fall, now there new go pick observer. And then to commend them, especially because of the timing of when all of this was done. I was following events closely, and I know as close to like 2 or 3 weeks to the election, they were still grappling with getting the list of polling units, cleaning the list, and also engaging observers. So they must be commended for doing that. The third point for me is say, now what they call the response rate. And then for many elections where I don't observe, many PRVTs where I don't do, this is not the first time in a long time where they see response rate where they're very clean. We should say observer do their work very well. The response rate by news was 99%. Even for us at Yaga that deployed the PRVT for the national election in Nigeria, our response rate was 97%. To tell you the level of commitment that went into doing this, 99% it implies that almost every of the sample point was covered by news. And that is why you could see the way Marcella and all are speaking authoritatively. It is not coming from the place of arrogance, but it's because of the kind of confidence that we have in the methodology. For anybody who don't deploy this kind of methodology over and over, that is why by definition we say now proven election day observation methodology. If you follow the principles of the methodology, recruit observers from the correct location, train the observers, deploy them, and then get observers make the same correct information based on the form where they give them the checklist. You go beat your chest, go sleep, say, whatever people want to do, the result go turn out the way we expect. That is the confidence level where they talk about. So if they talk about, say, if today Yaga Africa will go to Sierra Leone and do the same thing as what news did, Yaga Africa would get almost the same results because not the same process, not the same methodology, you need a change. As long as we will get observer, may they go the location, may they do the correct thing. So we have confidence in what news did. It is the global standard. It is the same as what we did in Nigeria here during the presidential election in 2023. And if you look at the stories and the kind of reports that you get from news, it's almost similar with what we got during our own election here, late commencement of polls, concerns around not getting voter information on the cast and the like. So I think it is, and I must commend them for that.
Let me ask you this question before I go to Reverend, because I'm told he's around. Having conducted PVTs in Nigeria and other parts of Africa, are there cases where, the PVT declines verifying the outcome of an election. In your long years of conducting PVTs, are there cases where it has detected fraud? Let's put it that way. It has detected fraud in the course of an election. Are there cases, there one or two examples that you want to share with us?
Sure, Samson. And then just to say that for people to understand that this is not rubber stamp, even for news, if we go by the reports, in 2017, news data was consistent with the Commission's data. In 2022, it was 2012, it was consistent. In 2018, it was consistent until the manipulation happened in 2023, that news is now able to expose the corruption or the manipulation that happened. The one I feel talk is to bring us home here to Nigeria. I feel even start from 2015 election. That was a transition election in Nigeria where we had Goodluck Jonathan, if people recall, then ceding defeat to the APC government of President Buhari. After what happened, of course, for us as the people who have been deployed that PVT data, what we've been seeing is say in the south geopolitical zone of the country, what do people do now to inflate the votes, the turnout, the thing can't affect turnout. It gets some states for Nigeria where you go, where turnout will be like even 100%, which we think is not always possible in our election to have almost everybody, especially in our case for Nigeria, make everybody show up, make they come vote. So we exposed that, but what didn't happen for that time, they say it didn't change the overall outcome, it just reduced the margin of lead between the two major parties for the election. For us, for Yaga, it gets elections where we know verify. There was an election in 2019, a state election for Kogi State. After the election happened, we recorded about 125 critical incidents or waiting people go for serious issues which will affect the credibility of that election. And what thing we do is we not just want to look at the election outcome, you want to look at the process leading to the outcome of the election. And you want to check whether people get the opportunity to make they truly participate. When you want to look for a credible election, you want to look at three critical elements. The element of inclusivity, transparency or accountability, whether people get chance where they participate. For that election gone for Kogi State, even we as observer, they attack our data center. Something where they talk, even had to run from the state for safety because our lives too was at risk for that election. So because of what didn't happen, we think say no happen in the environment where people feel express their rights to vote in a manner where go impair with their ability to vote. So we know verify. Something, one last quick point again, I beg. Another state election where we know verify now for Bayelsa State also for 2019. What can happen for that election? They say, based on the PVT data where we release, it shows say election no happen for 24% of polling units. 24% are like 300 polling units. And at the end, waiting our data come to show, we say the commission reports some polling unit for those places where we know say election no happen. The report say election happen for those polling units. So we show data can expose that corruption where the commission do that time. Thank you, Samson.
Well, thank you very much. It's good to know that the PRVT, having been deployed across different parts of Africa, has detected inconsistencies, and so is a tested and trusted methodology. Well, thank you very much. We're seeing all the comments and all the posts. Please keep them coming. It's on News Facebook page, and it's News Sierra Leone, and also on Twitter is @News Sierra Leone. So please keep posting, keep asking the questions and the comments. We'd love to really hear from you. And at some point, we will take some of those questions. Well, I understand Reverend is on. Reverend, good evening. Unfortunately, technology has you out of the conversation, but it's good to see you. Reverend, I just want us to really talk about are you there?
Yeah, something I'm on, though I'm having challenges with my camera on and off. My camera is coming on and off, but if you don't mind that.
Oh no, that's fine. I think it's great. We can hear you clearly. And so, Reverend, my question to you is, and I pose this question to Marcella. why is NEW insisting, and why are some other credible civil society organizations, including partners of Sierra Leone, requesting the ECSL to publish polling station results? Why is it important? Why is it important?
Something you have to repeat that question because you are echoing and I'm not getting you exactly.
Okay, my question to you is, why is it important for the ECSL to publish polling station results? I don't know if Reverend you can hear me, but the question is why it is important for the ECSL to publish the polling station results.
Yes, I have got the question.
Okay, so can you respond, please?
Yeah, I've got the question, Samson. This is very, very important for the ECSL to establish itself as a credible institution, noting that they took an oath of office to serve this country and discharge the responsibilities of conducting elections that is in line with the legal provisions guiding electoral processes, and refusing to produce the polling station results is denying the people of Sierra Leone the issue of them knowing whether their votes counted. This is something that the ECSL should not wait for them to be asked. This is one way of providing to the people of Sierra Leone the evidence that their declaration is correct, because the source of their declaration is the polling station results. So why are they refusing to bring these polling station results out to the public? Especially when these validated polling station results were signed by the presiding officer in the polling station, the various political party agents in the polling station, and they have duplicates of those results. So they have an opportunity to cross-check and evaluate whether what is being said by the ECSL is what actually happened in the polling station. By refusing to produce that validated polling station results for the public to see, it's an indication that the ECSL is hiding information from the Sierra Leonean public, and this is not good for our democracy. We are coming from a situation whereby there was war because people were denied the opportunity of voting for their leadership, and this is where this ECSL is like wanting to throw us by denying the public the opportunity to see what their votes were in the polling station. It is unfortunate that we are at this stage. From 2005, we have evolved as a domestic election observation outreach that will observe our electoral processes so we add value to the process. And as a result, we have maintained a disciplined relationship with the Electoral Commission since then. But we are disappointed that from the onset in this process, the Electoral Commission has barred us from enjoying what we had been enjoying from previous Electoral Commissions: the free access and unfettered access to their activities and their data, which is in fact enshrined in the memorandum of understanding that we signed with them, it is disappointing that people who are expected to have the integrity to service this nation are now backing out. And they are following up on all these arguments, but they are refusing to make any comment which further deepens the fact that they want to conceal information to the public. Something very unfortunate. After the progress that we have made, so much that 2 consecutive times power has changed from the ruling party to the opposition. In 2007 and in 2018, I cannot understand why we prefer to be of disservice when every hope and trust has been reposed in you as an institution.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Reverend, for that. I'll come back to you, Reverend, but let me go to Kolifat. I don't know if Kolifat is still with us. And Kolifat, I just want to ask, for the benefit of those who are joining us tonight, who perhaps don't understand what's the business process of this PRVT, can you tell us exactly, what happens on election day? One of the questions people have asked is, what if, observers were sending you wrong information? Is the PRVT and your system able to detect, false information on the system? So that's one bit. And the second dimension is this point about the recruitment of observers, because I have seen pictures. You've gone to very hard to reach areas, and often people don't know the extent that you go to and due diligence in your recruitment. So if you could briefly just talk about this so that those who joined us tonight can understand this entire business process.
Thank you very much, Samson. Thank you very much for that question. I think this is an opportunity for people to really understand what we did as at National Election Watch. Our process was very surgical. We started by generating a sample that I've already spoken about, that is very representative across the country. And I'll start by just tell you how representative the sample is. Then I'll walk you through all the verification process, the reconnaissance, and up to E-Day. I started talking about Bo District that has 1,106 polling stations, and which represented 9.3% of total polling stations in the country, and had a 70 polling stations of our sample, also representing 9.3% of our sample nationally. Bombali had 721 polling stations nationally. It represented 6.1% of total polling stations in the country. And we had a sample of 46 in Bombali, which also represents 6.1% of our sample nationally. Bond District has had 884 polling stations and represented 3.2% of all polling stations in the country. We had 25% sample in Bond District and which represented 3.3% of our sample points. I'll give you a couple more. Falaba District had 250 polling stations nationally. It represented 2.1% of all polling stations nationally. And we had 16 polling stations in our sample in Falaba, which also represented 2.1% of the polling stations in our sample nationally. Kailahu District had 679 polling stations nationally. It represented 5.7% of all polling stations in the country, and we had 43% of our samples in Kailahu, representing 5.7%, of a sample of our total sample. So if I go down the list, it follows the same pattern. This actually tells you that our sample is really representative of all polling stations in the country, and it cuts across region, it cuts across all districts. It takes into consideration the voting patterns in the country, because we all know, say, some area there in a saloon when a stronghold to the SLPP, some area there when a stronghold to the APC. With sample, it take into consideration all of that. That is why, like somebody said, I think like Paul said, we are so, when we speak with authority, because we know what we did. And it's so refreshing, Samson, to hear perspective from people like Paul and Simon, people that were sabi about PRVT. You know, when they read and they talk about PRVT, you feel glad by yourself. Not to them people the way they pass na salon now, they jump from pillar to post. They talk about PRVT where they don't get one experience and one expertise about PRVT. You know, but coming back to your question, Samson, you know, about the preparedness. Having generated the sample across the country, the 750 sample, what did we do? We contacted our district coordinators and we sent them those sample points. We said, these are the sample points in your various districts. We need you guys to recruit observers, you know, for these sample points. And like Paul said, we not just go and begin to select a polling station, they will observe they for go. No. This is a computer generator. This computer don't know Usai Kabbalah Day. It don't know Usai Kurubola Day na Falaba district. It don't know Usai you know, the different parts of the country. They don't know. The computer generated this, and then we had to go out and recruit observers. Now, when we tell district coordinators, we ask them to recruit observers from our member organizations. They did that. They sent us list of observers' names and their telephone numbers. What did we do? We didn't take that, you know, for granted. We didn't say, okay, we have the list of observers, we're just going to go with these guys. No. New come back and make and set up verification teams. 17 verification teams. New hire vehicles. We send people them across the country. People went across the country to verify these observers that the district coordinator sent us. We said we want to see these observers. We need to see them and we need to screen them. We need to be sure that these guys are not active in politics. They're not partisan. We need to be sure they're 18 years and above. We need to be sure that they live in those localities and so on. So these 17 teams, you know, Bond District, we all, at National Election Watch, we always divide Bond District to mainland and island. So we had two teams going to Bond District. One went to the mainland and went to the island. The other went to the island. 17 teams went across the country with two aims. One, to physically locate the polling stations. Remember, them polling station and computer na be pick them. So we said, go to the field and physically locate these polling stations. While you are out there, try to see what are the difficulties to access these polling stations. Are these polling stations, do they have network coverage, mobile network coverage? If they do not have mobile network coverage, how far does the observer need to travel to get network coverage? That was so key in our processes, because on election day, we observe them begin to transmit our data via text message. So we needed mobile network to transfer our data. So we send these teams out to actually verify these polling stations, physically locate them, and then verify the observers. Having done that, we came back. We trained trainers. 2 days training, 2 days rigorous training. All day we spent 2 days. Each day we spent more than 8 hours training our trainers to go back to the field and train the PRVT observers. And then when they went out to train the PRVT observers, after those trainings, we did 2 simulations that are otherwise known as dry runs. 2 simulations. The first one, all observers were required to go to the polling stations. They should actually go to the assigned polling stations and send text messages, using a simulation checklist that were given to them. We did the first dry run and we did a second dry run, just to make sure that our observer are actually au fait with the checklist and they are au fait with the process of sending information back to the situation room. So we tested those twice before election day. Come election day, our observers were trained to go to the polling stations at 6:30. Our observers were there at 6:30. How do we know that? Because these observers were supposed to send in, text messages to us in the situation room, telling us about their arrival. There are a few questions they were supposed to answer on the checklist that would indicate that they were actually there. And these guys did it. They sent it. So across election day, our observers sent in text messages 7 times during the election day. The first one was about their arrival. Second one was about the opening of polling stations. The third one was about the midday. We want to know what was happening midday, how many people have voted midday, The fourth one was at 5 p.m. We wanted to know how many polling stations were still open at 5. We wanted to know whether there were long queues at 5 p.m. The fifth one, we wanted to know the closing process. What happened during the closing. The sixth one, it was during the counting. What happened during counting? And the seventh was the tabulation. So our observers sent these text messages 7 times during the day. When they send a message, what did they happen? When observers send messages, these were coded messages. They were answering messages from the checklist while they were observing. They will observe and then answer the questions on the checklist and send those answers via text message to a tablet. National Election Watch bought 750 tablets and handed them over to our observers. They text those information to those tablets to our situation room. When the text messages arrive at the situation room, they go through a gateway, a tele-rivet gateway system we set up, and through to the Apollo system. We have a software, Apollo, that actually processed the data. So while we are at the polling station, we have quality checks that we do. When information like data come in from the observers, we have quality checks. We have young people at our situation room, young people, 20 young people who were there, who were assigned to receive this data from the observers from the field and review this data, look at this data, make sure that the data are really clean. So if, for example, I'll give you an example. If, for example, a polling station has 300 registered voters, and during counting, an observer sent a text message that this polling station had 550 registered voters, our system is not going to accept it. Those are quality checks. It's not going to accept it. And then one of our data clerks at the situation room is going to give them a follow-up call and tell them, okay, this particular question you answered seemed to have a problem, because we all know that no polling station has more than 400 registered voters. But if you send 500, then there's definitely an issue, and that's how they will clean that data up and then say. So we didn't just sit there and accept data hook, line, and sinker. The data needs to make sense. It needs to make sense. That is why on election day, we took time. Even by 9, 10 o'clock, we had like almost 95 or 96% of our data in, But we took time up to midnight. we took time to clean up this data so that when we speak from a position of authority, you know. So that's what happened on election day, something. So people need to understand that what we do in a national election watch, not to play business, not to picking business. It's not only, and for those people who go out there just want to talk about statistics, you know, it's the statistics part is one part of it. The preparedness and everything is another part of it. That is why if you don't know about PRVT, please just listen to us when we speak about PRVT. Don't try to join the conversation.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Khalifa, for that detailed explanation about the business process for the PRVT. I guess for those who are watching and those who are following us, you are getting better understanding of the PRVT. And I think Khalifa and all the speakers have converted this discussion into PRVT Academy 101, just understanding this process. But I think it's really important because of the critical role that the PRVT and you played in the last election. Again, this is for you. Feel free to drop your questions and also your comments. Thanks for all those who have been posting comments on Facebook, on Twitter. We see you and we hear you and we appreciate those comments. We would also like to, again, reiterate, you can ask questions and the leaders from NEW are here to respond to some of those questions. Again, this is hosted by the National Election Watch to expand on some of their findings on the elections as well as the issues that shape the June 24th elections in Sierra Leone. I don't know if Simon, you're still here with us, but I think it's important that I bring you in at this point, because for those who are wondering, okay, this is what PRVT is, but what is not PRVT? Or what, can you talk us through maybe some misconceptions that people have about PRVT or what PRVT is not? I don't know, Simon, if you're
Yes.
If you can take 2 minutes, if you can just take 2 minutes, because my eyes are on the time, and we want to give those who have joined us in this conversation time. If you could just take 2 minutes, I think it would be great.
Thank you so much. Yes, I will just go direct and talk about what it is not. We have so many misconceptions, and the first one is PRVT, or the process results verification for transparency methodology, is not an exit poll. This means that we do not, when implementing them, we do not ask people about whom did you vote, because this may create bias. So we get the actual results from the polling station as announced by the Electoral Commission. The second misconception, we say that observers don't count the ballots. Before, we used to call the methodology parallel vote tabulation. But this does not mean that when ECSL or the Electoral Commission anywhere is counting, that the observers are also counting. Remember, by law, only the Electoral Commission is supposed to announce the results, which is also the third point, that what information the PRVT gives are estimates and looking at estimates or projections, looking at the results. And this means that they are not the official results. The official results, according to the Constitution, is only by the Electoral Commission. And what the PRVT do is just to check about what they consistent with what they were given, as I mentioned earlier, so that we can help build on confidence and looking at the processes as what we would expect. Thank you, Samson.
Well, thanks, Simon. I thought that was very important information. I don't know, it's Reverend still with us, because Reverend, I want to come back to you. And my question is, I don't know, Reverend, if you're still okay. Reverend, are you with us? Hello, Reverend. we seem to be well, Reverend, I'll come back to you as soon as we sort the issues. Paul, let me come to you. Is this question, about confidence level? We did touch on it earlier, and I just want us to lay this to rest. And I just wanted, looking at news data and also data across other parts of Africa and the confidence level, just some by way of summary, is there any difference between the confidence level employed by you as well as the confidence level employed in other parts of Africa where PRVT has been conducted, or even other parts of the world?
So, Samson, I think I want us to look at it also from the social science perspective. Even for people that conduct this kind of research, they will tell you they have things like confidence level, they have things like margin of error. It's just simply stating that if you employ this, if you do these estimates, the number of times that you want to do this over, it will yield the same result. So based on the sample size that most times are employed, like Simon had alluded earlier, the base you want to go for is from 500, some to 750. In Nigeria, we'll do 1,500. So based on the sample size speaks about precision. So the more the sample size, the more precise it will be. In our case, when you go with 1,500, you are looking at a confidence level of 95%. You are saying if anybody will employ this 1,500 and do the same thing as what Yaga will do, for instance, deploying at random, recruiting and deploying at random, the person would get also response rate from those locations. So you are saying at 95%, the person will be able to do exactly as what Yaga had done. If we increase the sample size, it is also possible that the confidence level will increase to even 99%. But most people, to be on the safe side, will go with 95% confidence interval. Some will even go with 90%. But for most PVTs that have been conducted, that I have been part of, over 40 PVTs, none has gone beyond 95% confidence level.
Well, thank you very much. Marcella, let me come to you. I don't know if our tech team can bring Marcella up. And my question to you will be, as the chair of the National Watch and the sort of leadership role that you play, what would be your recommendation to the political parties, and then your recommendation to the citizens of Sierra Leone, and then also your recommendation to the international community? In the previous remark, you directed the call that you has made to the ECSL. So let's keep the ECSL aside. Now, what's your news call to political parties, to citizens, as well as the international community?
Samson, can you hear me?
Very well.
Excellent. Thank you once again. Some of them, just before I go to the recommendation, I can really like for all they do them program there, we reach out to the ordinary citizen. I know say this thing about the PRVT and the sampling sample, they really that's something very technical. And a lot of people them the misinformation don't show say, 11,000 police station, how come and do 750? So fumble there within a house, make I tell you now how sampling the work. Where you don't cook your cassava leaf this Saturday. You don't cook and fine, you don't put pepper, you put yabas, ogiri, cassava and fine red pamine. Where you ready, you mix some fine, then you taste some. You say, this cassava leaf sweet, it's good for serve. For let you taste that cassava leaf, you been drink the 1 pot soup? No. But because you do all waiting qualified explain, all the ingredients that they inside, then you mix some fine and taste some, you get an appreciable taste of waiting the soup like. I will also use the analogy of when you sick malaria, because malaria na thing wey common na salon. When you sick malaria or typhoid, when you go hospital, the doctor dey say go na that wound there, then go drop her blood. One syringe blood, then they can't tell you say na malaria you get. You no get no typhoid, and you dey believe the doctor bin drain all the blood in your body. No, na so sample size dey work. And so when you get that sample there, you dey able for extrapolate the data. I mean say you dey got the data, and people dey get idea exactly of wetin e like inside your blood na your body. Dem no go for drain all the blood for let you get really wetin do you. So when we dey talk say this PVT na proven methodology worldwide, e mean say just like how you taste, how you consider it is sweet. Oh, that doctor draw that one syringe and tell you wetin dey happen inside your body. Na so we pull 750 statistically representative sample inside the election and say this for able for give we a projection of how the election tally across the country. So what one little foundation something for for the ordinary citizens to understand why we're doing this, I'll go to your recommendation quickly. First and foremost, I will talk about the recommendation around the attack on citizens observers. In fact, as head of National Elections Watch, me at the face of new, I don't get the foremost attack. In fact, people they call new Marcella. New is synonymous with Marcella. So I want for encourage Sierra Leoneans. That's not the way to go. In any democratic society, the right to speak, the right for voice is very important. Democracy is about opposing views, it's about dissent, it's about contestation. Democracy is noisy, people talk about things. So democracy, no mistake silence for peace. No, when people keep quiet, no, that's not peace. Peace na what we're able to express ourselves freely. We get issues, we're able to put them at the table. Either we put them at the table for it can sort them out, and then we move ahead. So I want to recommend all those attacking, especially me most disappointment. Now the coalition where Andrew Lavalier and Ibrahim Tomi, the lead of civil society, for go against new data. Nobody has autonomy. That pettiness must stop. Nobody has autonomy over data. This is what New has been doing from inception in 2001. None of them people then they not be there at the space. And so when we not come, if we not they do like own thing, we know they harass you now. We know they lead other groups them for come and can challenge you now. We not stop for doing. This is 450 organizations doing this. And when they do so, in fact, the politicians, interestingly, to the amazement of many, the politicians have not been fighting post-election. I mean, you have not seen a bickering between the two lead parties, which is customary. Unfortunately, there is now a bickering between a coalition of detractors in civil society against National Elections Watch, which is, unprecedented. So, now we recommend to civil society that allow people therefore do their work. We should be able to ask questions to ECSL. I think that the will of the people should stand, and that is exactly what National Elections Watch has done. In a situation, we have 13 presidential candidates. In all the 11 candidates, our data synchronized. But for 2 candidates, it was inconsistent. So it was inconsistent for the SLPP candidates, it was inconsistent for the APC candidates. We are asking ECSL that this not ever happen. So we recommend to you, ECSL, let we see the polling station data so that we will find out who's fighting go well. And I don't think anybody deserve for be vilified because of that ask. The second recommendation are to the political parties. Political parties now a bedrock for democracy. We want for let the political parties they use all appropriate channels and let this issue be solved. What do National Elections Watch they do this now for foster peace, unity, and cohesion at the country. And one of the success of the 2023 observation of National Elections Watch, despite such clear a blatant manifestation of collation irregularities, nobody no raise a finger so far because they get confidence that National Election Watch is asking the right questions. And so we want to appeal that atmosphere they continue despite all the negativities where civil society themselves they feel for say this is not it. We for a long time we've not been countenancing them. But it is now too much, and we call them out, say them for stop. So let the political parties then continue, and we encourage them for the sake of Salone. For the sake of Salone, let them use all existing channels and resolve this issue as per democratic practice and the law. Waiting the law say, that will be lawful in this respect. For civil society, National Elections Watch, you all have been superb. I congratulate you now as head of National Elections Watch from the bottom of my heart. And I keep saying, keep doing this. This is exactly what would save the soul of our nation. And finally, all the ordinary citizens, you have been good, you turned out to vote. And we will ensure that your votes are protected and that they are counted. Thank you. A recommendation then now and
No, well, thank you for those recommendations. And I hope that those who've joined us this evening have taken one particular action that they can take to advance the cause of democracy in Sierra Leone. And like you said, for the sake of Sierra Leone. So our phone lines are open now. We would like to take your questions and your comments, and there's a WhatsApp call line. So if you are in Sierra Leone, the number is displayed on our screen, but I'll just call out the number if you're in Sierra Leone. Is 0783 95183. 0783 95183. So that is the number you can call the WhatsApp call line. And then if you're outside Sierra Leone and take an international call, it's plus 232 78 39 5183. International calls, please use the number plus 232 78 395183. So that's the number to send us your questions, your concerns, your WhatsApp. You can also send us voice notes as well. We would like to hear from you. We've been saying some of the posts on Facebook and on different social media platforms, and we really want to thank you because you created this platform to interface and interact with you. So please do send us your questions and your comments. And if you're in Sierra Leone, the number is 0783 95183. So WhatsApp calls or messages. If you're in Sierra Leone, the number again 0783 95183. And then outside Sierra Leone, the national calls
first call on the line.
7839 5183. As soon as we have a caller, we have someone on the line. The caller. Please just tell us your name and where you're calling from, and if you have a question, please go ahead and ask the question.
Hello?
Yeah, hello, go ahead.
Yeah. I'm happy for hearing this on a program. It's very interesting. But one thing we have always been talk, and Marcella did not talk about the YD at a particular program or level watch. The YD on Sunday. Things we don't start for the go wrong, and people be the turn a blind eye. And we want to also blame Marcella also. Because most of the time when they will be expected for to come out and talk, I think the threat behind the scene or the things that will be happen to have to make the just to go back. But really, there people here we allow them, we give them a lot of leeway and do it in the want and for come at this end, for come begin the challenges, things we don't go wrong. If we really don't go wrong, and we really need for we understand. None of them is safe. So the best thing for do, we really get for put the mind into which we want to do now as a people and as a country for we save here. Otherwise, we are doomed. Thank you.
Well, thanks for that. Please, when you call, just introduce yourself and tell us where you're calling from. The phone lines are open. If you're in Sierra Leone, the number is 0783951183, and for international calls is +23278395183. WhatsApp calls, voice are also acceptable. Yes, we seem to have another caller on the line. Hello, good evening.
Hello, good evening, sir.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, please tell us your name and where you're calling from and go to your question.
I just want to ask a question because where we see the ECSL, the waste time for I call from Dubai. The ECSL in issue we no degree for travel. Yeah. In case them no release the appropriate data where everybody gets, including the international community, waiting for be the next step where the new and other bodies they will take against this one.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for that question. We will respond to them. Again, the number to call is 078-395-183. 078-395-183 is the number to call. WhatsApp calls, voice notes are acceptable as well. We do have another caller.
Hi, good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon. Please tell us your name and where you're calling from and pose your question.
This is Karamo. Yeah, this is Mo Karamo. I'm calling from the US.
Yeah, thank you very much. So please, your question or your comments.
Yeah, so this is for Marcella Samba. I was listening to her earlier where she was explaining about the process of the election. I can feel happy and so much. This is not just her. This is just for all Sierra Leoneans to come together to save us. We can understand the other side of the story. But what she's doing, this doesn't start 2023. This has been going on since 8 years up to now, and it's the same process going on. So for people to harassing her, saying sort of threat against her is bad for our democracy. So we need people like her to really, we need more society to be like her. And if anybody is blaming her that you was not saying something before the election, I believe that is lie. Marcella Samba, she has been there before on AYV 98.1. She has and over and over to say that right. We the people of the region will be together, like can say that all we want and have a fact. So yeah, to be stable again. Don't talk back to the back days. That is all I want to say. Thank you very much, Neil, for your cooperation.
Thank you very much for your question. The phone lines are open. Please keep them coming. The number to call again is 07 is the number to call. Thanks for all the calls. The phone lines are open. And we have another caller. Hello, good evening.
Hello, good evening. Are you getting me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. calling from Sierra Leone. Firstly, I really want to thank New and we're all really on the panel because I think it's so very, very interesting. And so I want to state a number of things. One of the people that
the internet will be fair and good to us so we can hear you.
Information and communication. They get a press briefing the other day, one Dr. Adams, go and state several things. And I want to commend Khalifa because he called into that program day and tried to refute some of the very, very clear lies that this Dr. Adams been put forward. In the first place, I want to say Dr. Adams in the public is not a statistician. In fact, he is not at all. If our party what do they do, we also encourage other people to do. I don't try to check even during the program or try to find your name because they say this man is a professor in the University of Maryland. So I don't check, and able to see him any side. So if possible say this is hotel not CIA, but please that is call you because we didn't do it in the type of bring people forward with and think say, well, because it's a professor, because it's a beast, whatever it is saying, incredible. This man is clearly not a statistician. Everything we talk on that program day, you can go to the website and then and day. So it appears to me that you just read and it just states with you one for say. Secondly, honestly speaking, I think a lot of people are just wasting their time. ECSL is not going to publish the data. Honestly, they're just wasting their time. And my final point would be, Marcella, kudos to you. Thank you so much, for putting your own very, very life even at risk. And thank you because the good way you retreat for now. Because I'm telling you, these people, they only hesitate for do anything. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much. May I request our subsequent callers, if we can just keep our comments or our questions to just 1 minute so we can have more people speak, because this is more like a town hall for everyone. Yes, we have another caller. Good evening.
Hello, good evening.
Yeah, please tell us your name and where you're calling from.
Mina Adam, I call from Kuwait.
Okay. All right, please. Minutes, your question or your comments.
The only thing when me want to say, this thing is very simple. Okay, it's very, very much simple. If ECSL, they no say the results where they give, now incredible results. They no say exact. Now what the people in vote? Now in them call. Then why did they refuse for give why did they refuse for answer the question where people don't they ask them? Why did they refuse for give the results of the police station there? If they no say now exactly what the people in votes now in them call out. This is not about APC or neither SLPP. This is about our country. Because if it thing like this go on and then this particular one then go scot-free without nobody not take action on them, then go scot-free with that, that means it will continue for happen. Another person back we go can the next time instead go do the same thing and later he go talk say what about where this can be do and what to not do. So we need for set things straight. Let ECSL produce the result. That's all, and then all of this go down. If they say new they try for undermine the peace of the country, if una no say una not undermine the peace of the country, then una produce what they ask una for. Get them out. Let them collide everything and see if really what you again are true. But when I go to my say, Lord, we bring peace for the sake of peace. Lord, we accept. Let everything. Lord, we accept the result. Lord, we just move on for the sake of peace. There is no peace where truth not there. There is no peace where there is no truth. Even if you make peace, say if they're not talk the truth, they're not tell you how you wrong, say you wrong. That peace they know they ever all water. So for the one day, because we know say 2018 they work like that again. So if now that they do the same thing 2023, then they refuse, say they not agree for let that happen, hell no. Then for go to ask for we the people of Sierra Leone and asking for the results. Let them give us what we voted for. Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. Unfortunately, we are very, very limited with time, but we may open the phone lines again. But Marcella, let me come to you on Khalifa, because some of these questions that have been raised, I think you can respond to them, although some of them are comments. Marcella, there's a question about if the ECSL fails to release the polling station data like NEW and other observers have requested, what will be the next step? What will you do?
Okay, thank you. Two issues relating to that. You see, I mean, this is clear. It's normal in any elections. At the end, even if you don't ask, for the purpose of open data in elections and transparency purposes, now the practice nowadays. By now, we know for everything they talk, all data for the open at the ECSL website. So it's not a matter of whether we ask, because we are actually watching the process. I make way, no, they we ask. But it's part of their responsibility. Just like President James said, now they hold that one day, now they get the mandate for uploading results the day, and then the results then they not to just normal for the elections. People they use them for academic purposes. Analysts then they use them for doing projections. People then they use them for compartments from 2022 to date. So a lot of things needed for be done with that result. So it's not about, I mean, and as I said, we got an enviable tradition that with processes that are credible and free. So this time for mobilized people to start attacking us because we're asking questions is, I mean, it's a no-go area. Let me just continue in the path where we don't Sabine. ECSL don't done with this process, make them put their data online. Everybody will get used for the data, let you use the result data. The result data then at the polling station, because now then the counting done. ECSL say 120 stations were cancelled. All the information then the who side and cancel, we don't even know. So a lot of things needed to be clarified from ECSL. And I want for big Sierra Leoneans, they say, let not go to the situation waiting will happen. Let we continue for call on them, and let we all increase our voice for ask them for let them do them. And me want for say, and let we continue for maintain the peace. One of the things the way they asked me something, one of it don't mention earlier, now the recommendation to the international community to all of this. We want to ask the international, if I talk English, because this code is on record. So the international community, as part of the recommendations, you cannot throw, the baby with the bathwater. Sierra Leone is our home, right? That is why we're doing all of this for peace and quiet and tranquility in a society, to build national cohesion so that everybody will feel a part of the society, that people will not be excluded. Any step by the international community to sanction Sierra Leone would only deepen the democratic sliding that is taking place. So the international community has a role to help us to be the Sierra Leone we are all yearning for. So it's all about building peace. This initiative is about building peace. There is no alternative but peace. I mean, we will continue to engage despite I am out of Sierra Leone. We have created this platform to continue to engage, and we are calling on all well-meaning Sierra Leoneans to join the question of checks and balances. I like the lady caller will say, if we allow this to happen one time, now so other person go back, go and back. Somebody else in the Electoral Commission will do it repeatedly. And then the problem continues and people get infuriated and agitated down the line, and there will be no peace. Because without justice, there is no peace. So let's not allow the ECSL to take up, the will of the people in their own dispensation. Let's hold them accountable, ask them to produce the results, and then we move on as a country. It's part of peace building, because there are people who really want to see their votes being counted accurately.
All right, thank you very much, Marcella. Khalifa, can you also respond to some of the comments and questions directed to you?
Yes. I think one major thing I want to respond to here is about people have been accusing me of being very active person in politics, like they are associated with the All People's Congress Party, the APC. I think I need to make them very clear here, ladies and gentlemen. Me now is Sierra Leonean. I'm a Sierra Leonean. By birth, I'm a Sierra Leonean. Okay? But I've also been with the National Election Watch for 20 good years. National Election Watch was formed in 2002. I joined National Election Watch in 2003. For 20 good years, I done the work with National Election Watch. If I am anything but partisan, I will not be a member of my National Election Watch by now. I will not be, because for this 20 years journey, we had a lot of people who are with us. They've left us. They've joined active politics. Some of the people, we had to take them out. We threw them out of National Election Watch. This is how NEW operates. NEW is a non-partisan coalition. That is why when we go out and verify our observers, we want to make sure that they are not partisan. If me now be partisan person, I will not even be part of National Election Watch, let alone say leading a major aspect of NEW, being the PRVT coordinator for not only this 2023, but also in 2022. Sorry, in 2018. I was also the PRVT manager in 2018. So people just go around saying all these things because they want to just associate us. But everybody know, something, let me just say this. In 2018, when the All People's Congress Party was in power, I was there. My brother, my elder brother, was a member of parliament. His wife was a deputy minister of social welfare at the time. And when I traveled from the United States to Sierra Leone, I lived in their house. But I was working with NEW, and I was representing NEW, you know, very religiously. I remember a particular incident that happened one time in 2018. Having gone through the different districts, we had dialogues, community dialogues. You know, people said a lot of things. Okay, I came back to Freetown. I was on 98.1. I was giving reports of my findings in different localities in the country. I remember when I was speaking against the All People's Congress at the time, there was a minister, a current minister at the time, who called me out at that time. So I just need to understand that this is me. This is Colifam. I'm a civil society person. If I want to be politician, I'll be politician. But I'm a civil society person. I'm 100% national election person.
Well, thank you very much for clearing the air on that. Unfortunately, this is where we have to draw the curtain on this. Very interesting conversations, and I think it will be remiss of us that we have received. Mohammed Ali, we see you. You said this encounter has helped us to greatly understand and appreciate NEW's efforts in putting the record straight. I can authoritatively say NEW has done a good job so far. Well, thank you very much, Mohammed. Abu Karbo also says the explanation from the expert on PRVT has led, well, he's noting that the explanation has been great. Israel and Zainab, and tons of comments that we have received. Thank you so much, and we do appreciate. Unfortunately, we've run out of time, and we see some people are requesting that NEW should do this more often to clear the air. But I can't sign out of this dialogue session without thanking the esteemed speakers who have made themselves available for this conversation. To start with the chair of NEW, Marcella Samba. Thank you so much. Thank you for the great work that you do. Khalifa Koroma, thank you so much for joining us this evening. Reverend James Lahai, who internet seemed to have stood in between we and him. But we really thank you most sincerely. And thanks joining us from Nairobi. Thanks, Simon. We do appreciate. And from Abuja, Nigeria, Paul James of Yaga Africa. Thank you so much. And to everyone who has actually joined this dialogue, and we hope that this has been useful, it's provided deeper understanding on news position on the 2023 elections. Three things to note is that the PRVT is a conflict mitigation tool, and NEW is not by any means trying to undermine the peace of Sierra Leone. Instead, it seeks to deepen the credibility of the electoral process and also protect democracy. So please continue to see PRVT and news work as an effort to protect to protect Sierra Leone's democracy. And that the PRVT is not an exit poll. It's a product of intense work done by Sierra Leoneans across board who are concerned about protecting electoral integrity. And to say from all of us, please stop the attack on citizens observers. It doesn't say well of we as Sierra Leoneans. It doesn't say well of we as Africans. We are responsible people who have respect for the dignity of a human person. And so we enjoin you to please stop this attack. And like Marcella said, for the sake of Salome. Thank you very, very much, everyone. And thanks to the tech team, that has made this possible. You are not seeing their faces, but they have ensured that this entire process went on successfully. So thank you very much, and to everyone that has contributed to this entire dialogue session. I hope you would host this so that continuously we keep this discussion going. So thank you. Have a good night wherever you are, in wherever part of the world. If it's morning, have a great day. If it's afternoon, have the best of the afternoon and evening. And if it's night wherever you are, have a good night, everyone.
Good night.
Bye.
All right, thank you. Bye.